Mom is going to live here, so you need to move out. Suddenly, my husband Michael said this to me, leaving me. What? Completely baffled. Naturally, my parents, who were listening in on speakerphone, seemed just as clueless. I put the call on hold for a moment to explain the situation to them. Then, my parents and I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Wait a minute, move out? Who are you talking to? My mom was laughing so hard, and even my dad was tearing up from laughter. Holding back my laughter, I then said to Michael, "Please, make yourself at home. My name is Lynette. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I met my husband Michael at work 2 years ago and we got married. Even after getting married, I decided to continue working at the same place. But I diligently took care of household chores after coming home and on weekends. On the other hand, Michael hardly did any housework. Well, it's more accurate to say he didn't at all. Michael grew up with lots of love from his mother, Carolyn, after his parents divorced when he was young. This made Michael quite the mama's boy. That alone wouldn't have been a problem, but he often compared me with Carolyn. For example, about cooking. I love Mom's cooking more. Or, Mom's cooking is way better than yours. Such comments were a daily occurrence. Also, when I tried to offer words of consolation after a setback at work, Mom would say it more kindly. Your words lack love, Michael would say. Because I was always being compared to Carolyn, I recently stopped offering words of consolation. And I started to ignore Michael's complaints more. I even considered divorce, but Carolyn was my mom Tilda's childhood friend. Carolyn was over the moon about our marriage when it was decided. Thus, getting a divorce felt like betraying Carolyn, making it hard for me to take that step. Then, one day, Michael said this. Mom has decided to live here soon. I expressed my reluctance to his words. The reason is because. Wait, this is too sudden. Besides, we don't have room for Carolyn in our house. We live in an apartment, not in a high-rise, but a regular one. It's not very spacious, just right for 2 people. However, Michael said, then, we'll just have to move. Moving would be such a hassle, with all the address changes and everything. He spoke so lightly of moving, but it involves various expenses. And there's the trouble of going through all the address change procedures. Besides, the last time I saw Carolyn, she said she was fine living alone. I often go back to my parents' house, and sometimes I see Carolyn there. Being Mom's childhood friend, she sometimes visits our house. During those visits, my son wants to live together, but I don't want to interfere with your married life. Besides, I visit Tilda's house like this, so I'm not lonely, Carolyn said. I told Michael about this, but that's just Mom being considerate of you. Read between the lines. He dismissed it. I didn't think Carolyn was just being considerate, it probably was her true feeling. But Michael was not convinced at all. Carolyn really did said that. Maybe you should check with her. It's too late for that. I shouldn't have consulted you. With that, Michael stormed off to his room. Why doesn't Michael listen to others? And why won't he consider my opinion? I was left sighing deeply. A few days later, I went to my parents' house. My parents and Carolyn were there. I told them about Michael considering living with Carolyn. I'm really sorry you're being troubled by Michael. Carolyn apologized deeply, but it wasn't her fault. Please stop, Carolyn. You've done nothing wrong. But really, I keep telling Michael, parents won't be around forever, he can't keep depending on them. I tried to reassure her, but Carolyn was clearly frustrated with Michael's behavior. Mom also spoke to Carolyn. Carolyn, you're too kind. Have you been stern with Michael? It's quite difficult. Carolyn seemed aware that Michael's behavior was excessive, but being his only family, she probably found it hard to be too strict. Then, Dad, hearing this conversation and wanting to lighten the mood, made a suggestion. How about we all go on a vacation together? I just happen to have tickets. Everyone was excited about Dad's proposal. I thought it would be nice to go on vacation after a long time, but then we encountered a problem. But we have 4 tickets. There's 3 for us, so what about the 4th person? Indeed. We had 4 tickets in front of us, but there were only 3 of us. We looked at Carolyn, who hesitantly said, No. I shouldn't impose. I'll pass this time, it would be too much trouble for all of you. We were pondering what to do with the extra ticket, but after returning home, we promised to invite Michael and left it at that for the day. After getting home, I told Michael about the upcoming vacation. I thought he might be opposed to it, but why not? Go and have fun. He surprisingly agreed, which was nice. Then, I tried to invite Michael to the vacation, but I'd rather not. Besides, I have plans that day. He flatly refused. I called Dad to inform him that Michael wouldn't be coming. After the call, Michael approached me. By the way, you went to your parents' house today. Did you see Mom? Yeah, I did. I answered, and Michael suddenly pressed on. Did Mom say anything about living together? I explained to Michael what Carolyn thought about it. After hearing the explanation, Michael sighed. See, I told you, Mom is just being considerate of you all. Maybe I should tell her that it's best not to get too close to that house. I got irritated by his words and retorted sharply. That's no way to speak. Carolyn said she can't be strict with you. Maybe she actually wants you to grow up and move on? Then, Michael grabbed me by the chest. Whenever our arguments escalated, it always ended like this. Because of this, I often ended up hurt. But Michael, unconcerned, sternly said to me, If you say anything bad about Mom, I won't let it go. Got it? After saying that, he let go of his grip and pushed me away. Luckily, I wasn't injured, but I started thinking that I might need to consider divorce. A few days later, I decided to visit my parents' house again. Mom was out with Carolyn that day, so only Dad was at home. After telling Dad about what had happened, he sighed a lot, but after hearing everything, he said to me, Lynette, if it's too hard, you can always come back home. Your mom and I are on your side. Tears welled up in my eyes at Dad's words. When I mentioned considering divorce, It's your life, Lynette, Dad passionately said. Feeling encouraged, I was about to return home. Dad then told me what happened to the 4th ticket. The day before the vacation, I was packing my bags. Then, Michael came into my room. Since that argument, we hardly spoke, so I wondered what he wanted. Tomorrow, what time are we leaving? Expecting a complaint, I was surprised by his question. I replied, We're leaving at 10 a.m. And Michael said, Okay. Then left the room. I was left wondering about the purpose of his visit, but assumed it was just to confirm the departure time, and didn't dwell on it much. But I never imagined what would happen next. On the day of the trip, Michael seemed to still be in his room, but I didn't pay much attention and headed to my parents' house. My parents were there, but one person was missing. Huh? She's not here yet? Apparently, she said, I'll finish some errands and then meet you there. Go ahead without me. Then, shall we head to the hotel? So, the 3 of us decided to go to the hotel we were staying at. The hotel was famous for being hard to book. We were lucky to get these tickets. Dad was boasting. The room was great, with a view of a vivid bamboo forest through the window. As Mom and I were marveling at it, Dad was taking photos of us. In the middle of this wonderful family time, a call came in that would shatter the moment. From Michael? I wonder what it's about. Yes. I made sure to put it on speakerphone so my parents could hear. Then came Michael's reply, with a weird laugh. Lynette? Sorry to bother you during your trip. I have some unfortunate news for you. Unfortunate news? I wondered what he meant when Michael said, Mom is going to live here, so you need to move out. Suddenly, Michael said this to me, leaving me. What? Completely baffled. Naturally, my parents, who were listening on speakerphone, seemed just as clueless. I put the call on hold for a moment to explain the situation to them. Then, my parents and I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Wait a minute, move out? Who are you talking to? Mom was laughing so hard, and even Dad was tearing up from laughter. While holding back my laughter, I then said to Michael, Please, make yourself at home. And the moment I hung up, we all burst out laughing again. What? Why now? Wait, he's kidding, right? What is Michael thinking? After a round of laughter, I said to my parents with a weird laugh, Probably, things are getting pretty hectic over there right now. I never expected Michael to declare that it was time for me to leave our home. And since we could guess what would happen next, we decided to wait for the person who had the fourth ticket. Meanwhile, as for Michael, right after I left, started taking action immediately. He first called a moving company to store all my belongings in a rented warehouse. Then, he decided to go to his parents' house to move all the home furniture to our house. Upon arriving at his parents' house, he immediately started loading all the furniture onto a truck. Seeing this, Carolyn came out of the room. What are you doing? Carolyn was puzzled, and Michael, with a weird laugh, held her hand. I've decided to divorce Lynette and live with you, Mom. Carolyn was completely confused. The moving process continued in the meantime. Carolyn thought, maybe something is happening. So, she made a call saying, I'll finish some errands and then meet you at the destination, go ahead without me. After all the belongings were moved, Michael arrived at our house, unloading the home furniture one after another. Carolyn was clueless the entire time, but finally understood upon arriving at our house. Mom! From today, we'll live here. I've kicked out the unwanted person. Carolyn looked distrustful at Michael's words. Then, she said to Michael, What about Lynette? Lynette is being kicked out. We don't need her here. Hearing this, Carolyn became furious. Enough! You don't cherish your wife at all, always saying Mom, Mom. It's time you grew up. Carolyn rarely scolded Michael, but after initially being stunned, he quickly tried to appease her. Wait. I'm doing this for you, Mom. However, Carolyn became even angrier at Michael. What do you mean for you, Mom? How old do you think you are? You have a precious wife. And yet you treat her so dismissively. I care about Lynette too. What are you doing not valuing Lynette? Reflect on how terribly you've treated her. Carolyn attempted to leave the house, but Michael tried to stop her. However, Carolyn firmly resisted. Where are you going, Mom? I'm not telling you. Cool off and reflect on your actions. Carolyn shrugged off a bewildered Michael and left the house. Mom! Mom! Ignoring a lamenting Michael, Carolyn got into the taxi she had called earlier and headed to a certain place. Meanwhile, for us, we had been touring the hotel, exploring what places it had. Then, just as we were about to head to the beach. "Sorry, I'm late." The person who entered the room was Carolyn. Initially hesitant, Carolyn decided to join the trip to set Michael straight after hearing about the incident between me and Michael. "So, how was Michael?" When I asked about Michael's condition, Carolyn answered with a laugh. "When I got angry, he was just confused." "Well, he's always been spoiled, so he probably didn't expect me to get angry." Still, I've never seen Carolyn angry. I kind of wanted to see that. While Mom was laughing, Dad became curious. "Are you really that mild-mannered?" Yes. She never used to get angry back in the day. Even when boys were mean to her, she wouldn't notice." "Hey, Tilda." Watching Mom and Carolyn interact so happily, we all laughed. Afterward, we enjoyed the sea, watched the hotel's entertainment, and had a fulfilling trip, but after dinner, a call came from someone we had completely forgotten about. We decided to put the call on speakerphone to listen to Michael's call. Hello. Hey, Lynette. What did you say to Mom?" "Thanks to you, I got scolded by Mom for the first time." Unaware that Carolyn was listening, Michael vented his frustration. "Because of you. I was embarrassed. Take responsibility." "Responsibility? What should I do?" I asked, and Michael made an outrageous demand. "Apologize to Mom. Say sorry for the trouble you've caused for being selfish. Tell her you will break up with me and leave the house." I almost laughed at such a preposterous request. In fact, my parents listening next to me were already laughing. "Oh my God, she's right in front of her." He's really outdoing himself with these self-sabotaging statements. While watching my parents laugh, I calmly said, "I could apologize, but do you realize the situation I'm in right now?" "Huh? How would I know that?" Still angry, Michael didn't realize. "You know this call right now. Your mom and my parents are also listening." Suddenly, Michael's attitude changed, and he started to panic. "Wait. Mom's there?" "Yes." Hearing Carolyn's voice, Michael was flustered. "No way! Why?" But Carolyn, unfazed, said, "I was on vacation today with Lynette's family." More importantly, what was all that about earlier? "No. This is..." Watching a flustered Michael, Carolyn said calmly, "I've said it all along. Cherish your wife. And yet, all you can say is Mom, Mom. Enough is enough. You married Lynette because you loved her, right? Well, that's, Seeing Carolyn genuinely angry. "She can be really scary," we instinctively said. I think this is the first time I've seen Carolyn so angry. Considering Carolyn's usually very gentle nature, her anger was rare for us to witness. Yet, Carolyn's lecture didn't stop. "What will you do when your parents are gone? Can you manage it alone? I raised you with love, but I don't remember raising someone who can't do anything without their parents. Learn to be independent." Carolyn then gave me a smiley eye contact. My parents were already saying to Karen, "Carolyn, that was scary. I've never seen you be like that before." Amazed by the change, I thought, this person is terrifying. While continuing the call with Michael. "Also, after this trip, I'm considering divorcing you." "Divorce?" Hearing the word divorce, Michael began to panic again. "Are you mad because I tried to kick you out?" "No, it's more than that. I've been fed up with your mama's boy behavior. You just need Carolyn, right? Well, actually, you're almost disowned by her now." Wait. Let me explain. Michael was increasingly panicked. Let's meet again after the trip. But I ended the call with a smile. Our family and Carolyn couldn't help but high-five each other. I think this alone might be too lenient. Lynette, could we talk for a moment? I had a discussion with Carolyn. I thought it might be harsh for Michael, but considering all he had done, I agreed it was a suitable punishment. Then, with that momentum, we went out to eat and dance, and the night went on. The 3-night, 4-day vacation came to a peaceful end, and after visiting various tourist spots, we headed home. That home was the one where Michael was left behind. When I opened the door to the house, the living room, slightly visible from the entrance, was in chaos. The once clean living room was now cluttered with trash and laundry. As we entered the house, we found Michael crouched down. He began to apologize deeply upon seeing us. "I'm so sorry. I really am." I decided to ask Michael, "Who are you apologizing to? Carolyn? Or me?" "Both of you," Michael replied weakly. I made eye contact with Carolyn and said, "We've discussed what to do about you." Michael looked at me. I quietly responded, "First, I don't need any alimony from the divorce, so please, let's get divorced. Also, cut ties with Carolyn. Lastly, live in this house alone." Michael was clearly bewildered by these words. "What? Me, divorce you, cut ties with Mom, and live in this room alone? Impossible. I've never done any housework before." "Exactly. You've always had me or Lynette do everything for you, but that's over now. You've relied on people too much. From now on, manage your life on your own," Carolyn stated calmly. My parents also agreed with our decision. After hearing Lynette's story, I realized I couldn't entrust her to you. You need to experience the hardships that Carolyn and Lynette went through. Michael's complexion worsened. "Please, not that. I can't live without Mom and Lynette." However, Carolyn and I remained firm in our decision. "After all the complaints you've had about me? Coming back now is just selfish. Appreciate what me and Lynette have done for you and live with that." Hearing this, Michael kept pleading weakly. "I'm sorry. Please don't leave." But we ignored him. Carolyn and I delivered the final blow. "I'll move my stuff later. It's unfortunate. Your actions ruined our cohabitation. If you had listened to us, this wouldn't have happened. Well, it's too late now." With that, we left the house. Michael was crying, but we silently closed the door behind us. The divorce between Michael and me was finalized, and Carolyn's belongings were moved back to her original home, culminating in our estrangement from Michael. Since Michael and I worked at the same place even after the divorce, we occasionally met. But his suits were wrinkled and smelled musty, making him somewhat of an outcast among coworkers. Moreover, not being particularly skilled at work, he was soon to be considered for restructuring. Rumors had it that Michael's solo living wasn't going well. Unable to clean, his home had become a garbage house. This situation made him a nuisance to other residents, and he was on the verge of being evicted. And at home, I heard he was still shouting mine and Carolyn's names every day. Well, all I can say is good luck to him. As for me, I decided to move all my belongings into a new place. Fortunately, since Michael had stored everything in a warehouse, my belongings were safe. My new home is near my parents' house. I still visit my parents regularly. And, as always, I'm still on good terms with Carolyn. We're planning another vacation together. I'm not keen on marrying again soon, but if I do find someone, I'll make sure not to choose a mama's boy this time.